city, your state, your community. I tell you, that's just the only way. You've got to know. It isn't gonna collapse because God is able to sustain my marriage. Had it been he or she can see, he or she will be able to tell that this person is innocent. We are the enemies. You get it now? That's why you see Jesus said, love your enemies. Do good to them that hurt you. Because Jesus understands. Glory be to God in the highest, the Father of mercies. Good, beautiful afternoon to you all. God bless you abundantly, and it is well with you in Jesus' mighty name. Thank you so very much for always putting out time to listening to our podcast. You know, like I say all the time, it means a whole lot to me. Thank you so very much, and God bless you. Okay, so happy Friday, and the title for our podcast this beautiful Friday is Made to be in Charge. Made to be in charge. You see, this particular topic is actually very, very important, and I want you all to pay close attention to listening to it. Because you see, each time I ponder on that particular Bible verse, Psalm 115 verse 16, I get so emotional because it is really, really heartbreaking, I tell you. And the reason why it is that way is because the people are blind and they're ignorant. So they do not know the truth because they aren't willing to seek after the truth. And why is that? Because they've been brainwashed that what they believe is the truth. Okay, I'm going to start first with the opening verse, then I'll tell you a story, alright? The opening verse, I mentioned it earlier, the book of Psalm 115 verse 16. I read, it says, the highest heavens belong to the Lord, but the earth he has given to mankind. Okay, so the story goes thus, there happens to be a man, a very wealthy man. He's got so much wealth, unlimited wealth. It's got billions and trillions and trillions and trillions, zillions, septillion. He's got so much wealth. I'm mentioning those figures so that you can have a glimpse of how wealthy he is. He's got so much, unlimited. Now he was going away and he's got a big house, and was going far away. And he had children, alright? He had about 50 children that belongs to him. And he was going away to a very far place, and he's got to leave them. And he told the kids he was going away. And he told them that they must ensure that the mansion is kept tidy, the house are neat, the garden are being sharpened and at the right time and being watered, and the pets in the house, the animals, are being taken care of. And you see, he discovered that in order to ensure that the kids now carry out this task successfully, they would be needing money. And he doesn't even know when he's going to come back, alright? But he knows that in order for them to have a beautiful well-being, they will be needing wealth. If it were you, are you going to leave them with $10,000? You don't even know when you're coming back. You won't, I bet so. So what did he do? He left them with unlimited amount of money. Are you following the story? And he said to them, okay guys, I want you all to be good to each other and ensure that you carry out the task that I've given you. The next time I'm coming here, I do not want this place to be in a mess. I want everywhere to be beautiful. the animals well taken care of, the garden well sharpened and watered, and the house neat. Okay. Then he told them about the wealth and he left. Now, after he left, the kids started living their lives. Then, all of a sudden, the kids came together and they said to themselves, hey, you folks, listen. In order to ensure that we all carry out our duty and we can all see that everyone is doing what they've got to do, they said, we need to appoint like a leader, a supervisor, someone who can watch over us and, can ensure that we're doing what we ought to do at the right time. And they all came to a conclusion and they said, yeah, that's actually a good idea. Okay, then they decided to choose someone among them to carry out that task. And they chose about 3 different types of people among them. And they made them their leader, their supervisor, and their manager. And it all continued and, everything was going on fine until before the father left, these kids were eating, were healthy, were doing just fine. They're doing just fine. After they appointed those leaders now, the kids no longer eat 3 square meals. They now eat once a day. And now the kids are working time to time and they're not even getting enough food. And now it got to a point where some of them fell sick. And those leaders said to them, you either get to work or we kill you. Some now among those kids now, when they meet those ones who are sick and said, are you out of your mind? Why would you even try to trouble the leader? Whatever he says is the truth. Get up now and get to work. The folks are broke, hungry, and sick. And they've got unlimited wealth in the house. And yet they are broke, hungry, and sick. And now, the leaders that they appointed are getting fatter, richer, and healthier. And these folks kept on walking and walking and walking to the point where they all got lean. And the leaders they appointed now were getting fatter and fatter and fatter. Are you following me? Then one day, these leaders called for a meeting and said, okay, everyone, we've seen how you guys are working time to time. And we love it, okay? So we're giving each of you $1 each. Most of the kids, most of them jumped up and started shouting and thanking those leaders. Thank you so much. We are so grateful, they said. And every blessed day, they lectured them. The leaders now lecture the kids and feed their minds with wrong informations and try to scare them, threaten them, bully them, and to give them informations that would only exalt fear and will keep them under their control. It kept on going, and going. Okay, let me pause there for a moment and let me break down the story to you. It's more like a parable now, but I want to help you break it, okay? The father that I mentioned earlier, the beginning of the story, happens to be God. The children that are in the house that all belongs to the father happens to be you and I. The big mansion, the big mansion that I mentioned in the story happens to be planet Earth. The garden happens to be the vegetation, the trees that you can see around you. The animals, of course, you know. And the wealth happens to be those natural treasures that are hidden in the ground. And even though you and I knows about it, but we are not benefiting from it. What a tragedy. What a tragedy. That's why I'm doing this podcast today. And I want you to pay attention so well. Because if you're able to understand, then maybe the story will change. But I want you to listen to me, okay? Just pay attention. And I mentioned now they are lecturing them every blessed day with informations that exalt fear and would ensure that their heart and mind are conditioned in order for the leaders to keep them under control. Now, the information lecturer, the lecturers happens to be the blogs, media, radio. You know those things. Don't act like you don't know them. Okay, so let's proceed with the story now. But before I continue with the story, I want to repeat the verse again. Psalm 115 verse 16. The highest heavens belong to the Lord, but the earth he has given to mankind. Mankind, that is you and I. Okay. So now, the torment and the terror continued in that mansion. And the father was away, far away. He's not even close at all, far away. Okay, so the terror kept on going and going and going and going. And you see, the other kids now have been so ingrained in the lectures that the leaders kept on teaching them. They believe the leaders 100%. And you see, they believed the leaders and they started adoring the leaders. They started adoring the leaders and they started seeing the leaders as some sort of very rich people. Do not forget, these leaders came out of them. And they started betraying one another because of those leaders. One of them came up with a plan. Why not let us try to reach out to our Father? Maybe he can do something about what is going on. Then that one said, you're right. Then he went at his back now to go meet the leader. And he told one of the leader that he mentioned his name, was planning to reach out to Dad and telling him about what you're doing to us. And the leader said, what are we doing to you? He said, I'm shocked because we are really enjoying from you. And I just kept on wondering why he wanted to take such an action. And you see, then the leader said, thank you for, passing the information to me. You're going to get 2 meals today instead of 1. He jumped up. He was so happy. So happy. Then that leader went to meet the other leaders and said to them, okay, I think we need to come up with a plan. Then they asked, what plan? He said, okay. I heard from someone that one of our brothers want to reach out to Dad and tell Dad about what we're doing. Why don't you think we plan this out? And I said, what do you have in your mind? Talk to us. Then he said, let us try to reach out to someone outside and strike a deal with the person and, make the person act as though he came from Dad. And he comes in and tell our brothers and sisters that Dad said they are actually in the mansion to face a lot of trouble and the struggle, they must continue, and they must keep facing whatever it is that they're facing, because that's why they were born. Then they said, that's a good idea. Okay, then when do we start planning that? They said, right now. Then those leaders try to go out around, and they went around and came up with some tactics, and they reached out to the gatekeeper, and they struck a deal with him. And the gatekeeper came in and spoke to the kids, and he said to them, this is a letter from your dad. Your dad said, whatever it is that you're going through, you have to keep going. Your dad said, you have to keep bearing whatever you're bearing. Your dad said, you have to manage in that situation you find yourself in. Your dad said, no one should ever try to stand up and fight against the situation of things, but you all must manage and endure the persecution and sufferings and hardship that you're going through. Even though those folks are getting fatter, you must not say anything. Thus said your dad. Then the kids were saddened at heart, and they looked at one another, and they started weeping terribly. Then the leaders went out, and they gave that young man a handshake and some couple of dollars, and he went his way back to his position at the gate. Let me pause there for a moment. If you're wise enough, by now you should already understand where I'm heading to. But you see, I think I'm going to break this story into parts now, alright? Okay, let's go back again. I mentioned the lectures, and the lecturer happens to be the media. Okay. The ones who sold out his brother happens to be we people, different tribes, different region, forgetting the fact that okay, I don't want to get ahead of myself. The one who came saying he got a letter from their dad happens to be religion and religious beliefs and religious leaders. They tell the people that no matter what they're going through, they have to manage. It doesn't matter if you're poor right now, as long as you have heaven, paradise, that's all that matters. They tell the people, do not try to be like the people of the world. When you want to fight for your right now, you're becoming like the people of the world, then you shouldn't do that. Religion. They tell the people you are here to fight battles. And the leaders that the kids appointed happens to be, guess who? The government. Okay, I'm going to pause here for today. We continue tomorrow. What I want you to do is go back all the way to the very few seconds and start listening again until you at least get a point out of the story. And you're going to discover that it is the truth. And I'm bringing the truth to you now. But you see, this is the least that I can do. But it is now your duty to embrace the truth in order to experience freedom. Thank you so very much for listening to this podcast. God bless you abundantly. Don't forget the Holy Spirit is in charge, and in Him we live, move, and have our being. Shalom.